So the detectives showed up to talk to me, and they took me into a room to sit down and, ask what happened and who all had Joey been around, who's been around the kids, things like that. The detectives were actually very nice to me, which I'm sure they're supposed to be. And they said, well, we need you to come down to the station in the morning and do an official statement. And the whole reason they were called in is because of the fact that how young Joey was, and this is definitely an injury that was induced. He just didn't spontaneously start having these bleeds like this. And they told me that there was a specialist that was going to be coming in to assist in diagnosing Joey. So I got to go back out, and we were finally allowed to come back with Joe. When we got in the room, it was pretty traumatic. They had hooked him up to an EEG, which monitors his brain waves. He was on the breathing machine, so he had like tape going across his face, and then he had this EEG thing. He had a line in his neck and in his groin, and then he had peripheral IVs on both arms, so he was just full of tubing. And we started our waiting game. That night into the next day, his blood pressure and everything was very labile. It was high, then it was low, and it was high, and then it was low. And the doctors were doing everything they could to try and get it regulated, but it was a struggle. I went to the police office, or the police station, in the morning, like they had told me to do. In fact, they picked me up and took me because I didn't have my car. Joey's father had the car, so he was also told to come down to the station. They took us into separate rooms, and they sat us down and talked to us. Well, talked to me and talked to him in a different room. And then once they were done with all their questions, they gave me my keys. They told me to go back to the hospital and that they'd be in touch. So I did. Joey's dad, however, was kept, so he was not released. And then when I got back to the hospital, I had another visitor from Children's Services coming to discuss all of my boys.